Yeah, frick. Yeah, frick. Damn. Dang, frick. Heck, shit. Demonetized. Hello, everybody. Hey, Vogan. Yes, indeed. There was a new Dark and Dinkler update today. We're gonna read it. We're gonna read through. Also, the silly new channel we have in the Discord. We're gonna read through all that too. So by the end of all the reading, my voice is probably gonna be gone. So let's get started with that one. Here, let's get over there. The hotfix isn't too big. A bunch of changes in it though. Bring it up on the screen. There's a bug. If you don't change the game mode, you'll be put in the old lobbies. What? I don't know anything about that. Patch is terrible for free to play. You might have to buy the game then. All right, you ready? Early access hotfix 86. All right, let's go. Butt fixes. Fixed an issue where the knockback ignoring effect could ignore the airborne effect. I don't know what that means. I mean, you can't levitate barbs before? I don't know. Fixed issue where spell costs were not shown as double when using Warlock's Torture Mastery. Fixed issue where Soul Collector would not work when killing a target with Flame Walk. Okay. Fixed issue where Warlock's Power Sacrifice could stack infinitely cast on opponents in Adventure Mode. So they finally fixed that a while. Yeah, that's a bug that's been around since Adventure Mode came out. Fixed issue where life after death effect would not activate on damage caused by Rogue's poison weapon. GG. Fix an issue where devil wings were visible in the after image when using a wizard's haste or invisibility. That's weird. I wonder, yeah, I remember that bug. I don't know what was that. I don't know what that's all about, but it was like a really random thing, wasn't it? Maybe we're getting a mob that can haste itself or go invisible. Fix issue where the weapon damage of weapons unlocked by the fighter weapon master was not displayed correctly in details window. Okay, hopefully that's fixed. Fixed issue where movement speed reduction immunity was not applied when hit by a Goblin Mage when using Breakthrough. Okay, so Breakthrough works on Goblin Mage projectile now. Fixed an issue where players' items considered to be rolled back when extracting and going down level. GG. Fixed issue where candles placed in the boss room would not display properly. Okay. Fixed issue where the sound for disarming the flame spout trap in Goblin Caves did not match the other disarming sounds. Fixed issue where certain walls appeared unnatural when the ramparts module and wheel modules were connected. Fixed issue where stacked items were counted as a single item when calculating loot value in the results screen. Fixed issue where handled items obtained from other players were valued at 0 gold when calculating loot value in the results screen. That's weird. Fixed issue where Banshee's forced relocation patterns were not functioning properly. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Fixed issue where Druid can enter the Troll's reward room without killing the Troll. That is hilarious. How many times are Druids going to be able to get into the freaking Goblin Caves reward rooms without killing the boss? Fixed issue where dungeon recovery would not recover items properly when a player is resurrected across different dungeon floors. Okay, so I guess you weren't getting your stuff back if you got resurrected down further, but didn't get your stuff back. Fixed issue where the item market listing process would be canceled if another listing item was sold while listing. Oh, that was an annoying bug, yeah. Druid can still get a Spectral Knight when it's the right modules. Wonderful. Fixed issue where the rarity color was not displayed for items banned from dungeon entry. Fixed issue where attribute changes to items were not properly reflected for the items saved in My Gear sets. There's no clown emojis. That's rare. There's some here, but there's none here. That's super rare. You never see that. All right, game updates. This is probably what everybody's actually wanting to know. This is all the big stuff. Hey, Ovenishi. So, increase the maximum value when socketing gems. So now you can socket, I believe, up to +3 attributes on the big pieces like neck, chest, and legs. And you can also socket 2% move speed. So instead, before you can only do 1. Now you can do 2% on the big pieces. This is pretty big. The all attribute option can now also, you can do +2 on the small pieces. The all attribute option can now be obtained through socketing. So now you can put plus all attributes on gear. This is huge. The entire economy of gear changed while I was in class. I wasn't able to buy any of the good pieces before they were bought up and instantly socketed and resold for hilariously high prices in the market. So unfortunately, I did not make this economy change, but everybody who did, as soon as the patch dropped, is now rich. You don't put +1 all on rings, bro. You haven't been able to put +1 all on rings the entire patch. What was I at? Oh yeah. Game pools, gear limit parity, or party, have updated the following. This is the big one. It's big, like everyone's like pissed off about. Adventure mode goes up to artifact level and it's trios only. This has not changed. Normals is only up to rare, and it's only trios. So there's no solos and duos and normals. It's only trios. And then high roller goes up to artifact only. So there's no mid-gear high roller anymore. It's just only artifact. Solos, duos, trios. This is interesting because this is actually opposite of what SDF said before. SDF said he wanted an artifact level high roller lobbies that were trios only, but he did the opposite. He made it trios only normals and did solos, duos, trios, high roller. People were guessing the reason for this is probably because he didn't want to change the rules mid-season and everybody just literally crash out about not being able to get demigod, all the solo players in high roller. So expect changes again next wipe, I assume. So yeah, people are going crazy about that. Test mode for the community assistant enforcement system is enabled. This is an interesting one. Allows the community to assign outlaw status to suspicious players once the system in tune based on actual behavior data. Community marked outlaw accounts will be feature restricted, limiting their disruptive actions while they are under investigation. I don't really know like how this is gonna work out. Maybe good, maybe not. I'm not sure. Who knows? So like maybe it's gonna get abused. Maybe it won't. I don't know. We'll have to see. The reporting system has been improved to allow reporting in more situations. Okay. The roar the servers performed at the start of the combat has been removed. I guess people were like cheesing him probably by going invisible, and then it's like the same thing with Wendigo. Wendigo roars, and wizards basically just magic missile him and then go invisible. And then when they come out of invisibility, the Wendigo roars again. They just do repeat that until the Wendigo dies. This is like a thing that they do. Rogues can probably do it too. Boss trigger system has been removed. Boss trigger items cannot be sold to merchants at high price. So we don't need items to summon high roller bosses anymore. You can sell the boss summon items back to vendors for the price they were basically when they like disabled them on the market. So they vendor for the market price basically. So that's about it for the patches. Like there's a really big patch, but it's not like a really big one. There's not a lot of changes, but there's like a lot of big changes, if that makes any sense. Not a lot of small ones. When they just removed the common and epic pool, they had to also remove the solos and duos. Yeah, I don't know. I guess so. How can we get out of the dungeons? Oh, you just when you're done playing the dungeon, you just press Alt F4. Developer comments. This update introduced our community system enforcement system to help clean up the dungeons. Suspicious players have received too many reports from highly reliable community enforcers will leave a temporary outlaw mark on their account. Outlaw accounts will be spotlighted for intense investigation by our anti-cheat team and eventually have modes and features restricted once the system is finalized. Best way for community to help improve the system is continue sending accurate reports when encountering a cheater. Features, modes and features restricted. So are we not banning cheaters? We're just going to give them like modes and feature restrictions. Why are we so against banning cheaters? Like perma-banning cheaters in Dark and Darker. I don't really get it. Like I got another ban report today. Actually, when I logged into Dark and Darker, I updated my game and logged in, and it was a temporary ban. I'm like, bro, why are we so against banning cheaters in this game? I never understand it. It's not like they accidentally cheated. This update also consolidates the matchmaking queues. The pools have been simplified into just a single pool for each adventure normal HR modes. Continuous matchmaking system has improved our ability to keep Helgen dungeons feeling populated. However, even with that system in place, the current population cannot sufficiently support the excessive amount of match types. Removal of the lower gear score pools also symbolize a return to the more brutal and hardcore routes for PvP-enabled dungeons, where not every fight is supposed to be fair. In the same vein, normal dungeons are now focused on trio parties. We're aware the current item power gap pushes the brutality to the extreme, but we will be working on a future overhaul to make the gap more reasonable. In the meantime, we will be considering ways to make it a bit easier to close that gap with improved loot drop rates and enhancements to the gem socket system. I think you see in the doesn't. Because they would lose 1 to 3k players instantly if they ban the cheaters. Good, fuck them. How many players have quit Dark and Darker because they don't handle the cheating issue? I don't give a shit about cheaters. I don't care about cheaters, man. I do not care about cheaters in one bit. How many legitimate players have quit this game because of cheaters? Guess we'll never know. Well, we got Dungeon Police, 100k-ish. Well, that's not right. I don't know. I mean, I always said that you should do trios only, but I thought it was trios only high roller. So the fact that high roller is still solos, duos, trios, and normals is trios only is actually funny. I'm not sure about that. Also, the gear disparity is actually absurd in the game right now, so good luck on high roller, guys. I'm gonna be honest. High roller, from everything I've seen and experienced, this wipe has been an absolute nightmare. We'll see. We have a lot to read through still. So, did you guys see the new channel? Did you guys see the new channel on the Discord? SDF's Kitchen? This removing both common, normals, and souls Jews really puts a bad taste in my mouth. I've had a bad taste in my mouth since they nerfed Lizard Man and refused to buff it. So, I mean, listen, yeah, I don't know. I can't even play my favorite skin in the game, so. Barbarians with 80% armor pen without using Reckless go burr. I don't really, I mean, that's not even a big deal. What about Rangers with 100% armor pen? Did you see the clip in Fighter Chat earlier where a Barbarian got killed by a Ranger with a short sword because the Ranger had 78% armor pen with his short sword out, which means it was 98% with his longbow on? The short sword Ranger literally deleted the fucking Barbarian in 4 hits with a short sword. Yeah, so, I mean, it's just the gear disparity is ridiculous right now. Yeah, I don't care about 80% armor pen Barbarians because our Barbarian's a melee class. Imagine 100% armor pen on a Ranger who is a range class who can kill you in 2 arrows no matter what class you are. Good luck. Diamond jump for 200 gold to 1k. Good. Good. That means looting feels better. We'll check out that clip here. Let's go check out. Instead of checking out the, actually, you know what? Yeah, let's check out the clip here. Instead of, because Fighter Chat is sometimes full of freaks. Let me bring up the clip and then I'll bring Discord back up. So this is a fighter clip, Fighter Chat clip. This is Bard, Warlock, Barbarian, a ruby silver helmet on, so his gear is decent. Test it first. I don't want to make you guys wait. We don't have to. This is a long clip. Here, you know what? I'm gonna trust that they're not saying any gamer words.
I went through the hole. Not good, I seem to.
Wait, let's pause. I want to see this dude's gear. Hold on. 189 HP, guys. This Barbarian has 189 HP, 40 strength, 42 vigor, 33 dex, 29 agility. So his gear is not bad. Okay, we can all agree. I think we can all agree that this Barbarian's gear is not bad. Okay.
Not good, I seem to.
Oh, he's coming in.
Watch this.
This
is absurd.
Go, he's blocked.
So the enemy Warlock pushes in and gets closed in the room.
Oh, he's getting fucking synced.
This easy. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, later, bitch. Yeah, hold back. Wait.
Not dead.
You guys are close up. I can help you.
Not dead yet.
How is he not
Okay, so he misses a few hits. Somehow that Warlock is still alive. So he's gonna Surge Kid here. I already watched this.
What is he gonna do?
I'm surging.
He's won!
I'm dead. What the fuck? How geared are they?
I hit him 5 times with
I'm
Moly.
dead! What?
Alright. It's Cleric and Ranger versus Barbarian. Headshot.
What the fuck is he
Body
doing?
shot.
You want him?
Headshot. What? Bro just got out meleeed by a Ranger with a short sword. Do you see that shit? Watch. He's got a prop pot up, chat. No prop pot versus prop pot.
What the fuck is he doing? You want him?
What?
It's a Ranger, chat. It's a Ranger. This Barbarian is effectively 200 HP, by the way.
What the fuck is he doing? You want him?
What?
Okay, one more time. Here we go. Headshot.
What the fuck
Body
is he doing?
shot.
You want him?
Headshot.
What?
So, I mean, what can I say? All right, let's read the rest of so there's a new thing in the Discord. Oh, this is gonna be where my throat goes out, or my voice goes out. Do a fighter short sword bill. No. All right. So check it out. This is SDF's Kitchen. This is the new channel in the Discord right here. Where SDF another time where motivation grounded the kids to fight those things. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna go over all this. Okay. We're gonna go over all this. It's a lot, so I'm gonna try to read it to you guys. We're gonna go over it, and I might like stop and talk about parts of it, but hopefully like I said, hopefully I can actually say it all without my voice going away. Is it limited who can see this channel? I don't think so. Everyone has access to this channel. I'm planning to use this space to casually share thoughts from time to time, so this is casual talk. This is not like the official vision, but this is coming from SDF, so we'll see. I've tried a few different approaches before. I think running a cooking channel might be the most fitting for now. If it doesn't turn out to be effective, I'll try something else, but for the time being, I just want a light, comfortable space where I can throw out ideas and spark some conversation. Tried to explain many things along the way, but I feel this hasn't gone as well as I hoped. There are probably many reasons for that, but I think the situation became more complicated as we made contradictory choices. True. Or added features and later removed them. Yes. That made it even more important to clearly communicate what we were thinking, and we didn't do that well enough. Sorry. The new vision? I don't know. We'll start talking without much structure for now. Some of it might sound a bit strange or scattered, so I hope you'll bear with me. Where should I begin? Let's start with random modifiers. There are quite a few things tangled up in this topic, so it's tricky to explain, but I think this is a good place to start. If you look back at the meeting notes for September 1st, 2022, we decided to test random modifiers on items. I wrote something along the lines of, I think simple items, like those in Ultima Online, make this game better. But to add more depth, like build variety, we'll need Diablo-style fixes. Let's implement it quickly and test it out. We could have developed the system without randomness, but designing each item individually would take a lot of time. From the beginning, we chose a method where items are determined randomly because it's the simplest and fastest way to develop. But we are 3 years down the line. But a huge amount of randomness in the game, meaning that attaining what players wanted required a tremendous amount of time. Also, since we did not yet fully understand the gear gap, the game ended up having a significant gear disparity. However, because we were still in a short playtesting phase, at the time, these issues didn't become very apparent. The number of random modifiers that can appear on up to 11 pieces of gear at once grows exponentially, making balancing extremely difficult. Especially since we designed the system to allow for sharply focused builds like in Slay the Spire. Okay, so hold on to this. To enhance fun, that part was achievable. However, maintaining in even a minimum level of balance was pure hell. Okay, so check it out. Slay the Spire. So he says we designed the system to allow for sharply focused builds like in Slay the Spire. So I have played an absolute insane amount of Slay the Spire. I have beaten the heart on Ascension 20 on every class. So I have effectively beaten all the challenges in Slay the Spire, like as far as like building every class, building every build, doing everything. I've played the absolute hell out of Slay the Spire. So I think I'm not the best player at Slay the Spire by far, but I know Slay the Spire in and out. And let me say that Slay the Spire, while you do have synergistic card effects that can shape your deck late game, early game, you do not have any builds. In Slay the Spire, you are totally beholden to RNG. What cards you get, you can pick your path and hope for like things to help your RNG, like go to shops. If you're looking for specific cards, go to shops, go to events, go hunt elites, like stuff like that to get a more focused deck. But the reality is in Slay the Spire, you are at the mercy of RNG while also kind of taking what you get in stride. That's the point of a roguelike. You have to build as you go. You don't really design a build from the start, right? Like I play Ironclad in Slay the Spire more than anything. And I like block builds, but there's no chance that I get a block build every time I play A20. And like I know for a fact Perfected Strike build's really good, but I'm so bored of Perfected Strike. Like that's the only one you can really try to build into because it only really requires one card. But the rest of them, like you just have to get what you get and hope you do the best with it. Across the outlets, it's Slay the Spire multiplayer. Nice. There's a mod for Slay the Spire, make it multiplayer. Anyways, so yeah, I wouldn't compare Dark and Dark to Slay the Spire. So we tried reducing the number of random modifiers that can appear on items. We also created our own scaling system called Attribute Bonus to limit the effect on items. However, all these knobs we created only pushed us further into the trap of complexity. During the process of adjusting the items, we received a lot of feedback from players who had already become familiar with the system and enjoyed acquiring powerful items, saying that the changes were moving in a negative direction. We also got significant negative feedback from players who always obtained many good items. The biggest issue was that we made those changes in the middle of the season. The biggest issue was you made the changes in the middle of the season. True? Yes. Although we anticipated this negative reaction, our wipe schedule was too far apart to keep up with the fast pace of testing. So we created a test server, but it wasn't utilized effectively due to the small number of users. Difficulty of serious testing and internal issues. The update process was very inconvenient. Migration to new versions had to be done manually because of these factors, kept getting deprioritized in development. But now the test server is definitely easier to update and maintain, and going forward we plan to make full use of it, and I apologize for not doing so until now. Early players were used to checking information through Discord, and during the early access phase, patch notes and other updates were available via the Blacksmith launcher. Because of this, creating an in-game feature to check patch notes and other information was deprioritized. I apologize for this feature, or apologize that this feature is still missing in the game. We will prioritize developing it soon so players can access information without relying on Discord and other external tools. A lot of people will like this change. I mean, I can't say anything bad about it. Once the news features updated, we also share test server updates and testing intentions through it. If something is updated on the test server, please participate actively and leave your feedback. I don't know if a lot of people are going to use the test server still. The issue was that people weren't playing on it, right? That was the original issue. I will also consider whether there's a way to allow users on all platforms to access test servers. Since access to the test server has been an exclusive feature for Hold the Line owners, we've been hesitant to fully open it up so far. However, this for the sake of better improvements, I'll think about how we can make this change without upsetting the Hold the Line owners. I'm a Hold the Line owner. I literally don't care. You can open up the test server. I just straight don't care. Like, what am I gonna be like? Oh no, my empty test server. What will I do? Hold the Line was useless. Right. All right. Let's get back to talking about the random modifiers. This feature brought several benefits to the game, but it also came with some serious side effects. One of the positives is that it allows for diverse builds without us having to manually create everything, letting players make interesting choices of their own. However, it's also highly luck-based, which can easily become addictive and time-consuming. Additionally, the many possible modifier lines on a single item can widen the gear gap even among items of the same rarity. Because the gear gap is so large, people started complaining. We only have gray poor items, but we got crushed by players who have purple epic items in every slot. Yeah, I remember that. At the same time, since we only had trio queues and no tools to support them, we also received feedback like, if you don't have friends, you can't really play the game. We introduced solo queue and created the Goblin Cave dungeon. I remember that, yep. Soon after, since people want to play duo play, we added duo queue as well. I personally did not like this approach, but we wanted to satisfy the players, so whenever I got the chance, I kept insisting every day that we should remove solo and duo queues. Since I'm speaking from memory to keep things casual, the actual update order might be a bit different. I hope you can understand that. I believe conveying the ideas is more important. When we took a closer look at the gear gap, at first we thought it could be mitigated if everyone had powerful items, so we tested things like adjusting drop rates, having merchants sell rare or epic items directly, or allowing players to buy items with their stats revealed. Sometimes these worked as intended, the other times unexpected side effects occurred. Even so, players still often fell victim to the large gear gap. The measures we took weren't enough to keep up with the ridiculously low chance of obtaining best in slot items. It ultimately required a lot of time. Unlike typical FPS games, our game required players to learn many new skills to perform well in combat. A lot of time was also needed to improve their skill. In the end, those who could invest a lot of time tended to have both gear and high skill, while players who couldn't play as much found themselves at a disadvantage in both aspects. Okay. If we represent players who can invest a lot of time in the game versus those who cannot, as a pyramid, the group that can invest a lot of time would likely be smaller. Anyway, we saw that players who couldn't invest a lot of time were repeatedly failing to get good results and eventually quitting the game. So we began thinking about how to keep these players engaged. Players who were already doing well wanted more content and better balance, but we couldn't invest much in that area. Since we believed the game systems weren't yet complete, we started developing various systems to better support the player base. Especially after the introduction of Adventure Rank, we implemented systems like skill-based matchmaking, which used Adventure Rank to separate matchmaking pools, gear-based matchmaking, which used gear score to match players of similar strength, and eventually, realizing that these dynamic systems required too many fragmented pools, we introduced a bracket system that separates dungeons based on item rarity. We knew from the beginning that having solo, duo, trios, queues, multiple dungeons, normal high roller modes, and various matchmaking pools would fragment the player base and risk turning the dungeons into ghost towns. However, our priority was to see if players could have a meaningful progression experience moving through brackets or pools steps by steps within a support system, even if things were split at first. That's why we went ahead with these attempts. But the loot system, what we call the loot drop system, was still in its infancy at the time. We couldn't properly tailor the loot drops for each bracket or pool, which meant players couldn't really use those brackets as stepping stones. Because the time it took to earn competitive items was still far greater than the time it took to lose them, most players ended up concentrating in the 0 to 24 bracket or the common bracket where the risk and stress was the lowest. We introduced a continuous matchmaking system to help alleviate the issue of dungeons constantly being emptied due to the matchmaking pools. Before the introduction of CMM, we returned to Steam, and wanting more players to experience the game, we switched to a semi free-to-play model and launched a large-scale at our level marketing campaign. In hindsight, it would have been better if we had promoted it as a free-to-demo, but like fools, we made the mistake of advertising it loudly as free-to-play. The biggest issue was that the normal dungeon had a restriction allowing only common items. The players who obtained higher rarity gear had no place to use them. To those players, the game felt like a demo, and it gave the impression that we had hidden the real game behind a paywall in a sneaky attempt to make money. As a result, we earned a lot of resentment from players. That was never our intention. We simply didn't have the breathing room to properly reflect on the side effects of the complex systems we had built. In any case, the flood of negative feedback and review bombing began. Response, we introduced a bracket system based on gear score, allowing Squire status players to use the epic and legendary items they'd acquired. Ultimately, the biggest issue was the gear gap and the excessive amount of time required to catch up with it. There was no perfect solution without directly addressing this core problem. We were able to achieve some level of control by introducing multiple brackets, but the system felt artificial. For example, 25 to 124 bracket ended up being the least played because due to the poor loot system, it wasn't meaningfully different from the 0 to 24 bracket. There were times when I wanted to remove the random modifiers altogether, but the game had already come too far for that to be an easy choice. We also tried to drastically reduce the item gap at patch 69, but since it happened mid-season, the items and the dead rolls didn't even maintain the minimal stat gap associated with rarity. It resulted in an overwhelmingly negative feedback due to my poor preparation. 69.1 was slightly better, but by then most players had already lost interest, and I wasn't able to explain the intention behind the changes as clearly and thoroughly as I am now. So I think he might be misunderstanding why patch 69 did not go well. In my eyes, the reason patch 69 went poorly was not because they squeezed the gear gap down. It's because gear looting was boring. It's like they deleted half the game. I think 69 was in the right direction. I think PvP gear gap should be smaller, and I think PvP gear gap should be much higher. Or sorry, PvE gear gap should be much higher. What I mean by that is I suggested many times long ago that when you find gear, the random rolls should actually greatly affect your PvE power. So like maybe in normals, you can get by struggling with Squire gear. But say you find like a green, I don't know, pair of gloves with one roll on it. And that one roll says like increases the damage you deal to skeletons between 5 to 10%. Or not skeletons, undead. Damage you deal versus undead by 5 to 10%. We're talking big values, like big values. Stuff that really matters. 5 to 10%. On a green pair of gloves, 10% damage increase. Just for finding green gloves. That's powerful. That makes it feel good. And say high roller mobs hit so hard and are so tanky that maybe you need like 60% PDR to even go into high roller. And you need like 80% bonus damage to even deal with them in time. Right? Like this makes gear feel good without making PvP just a gear check. So the base stats on gear remain, and the random rolls affect PvE values. Stuff that like affects your progression in the game, your ability to get better gear, but not totally make you absolutely broken in PvP, as we saw in the video I showed 10 minutes ago. Anyways, that was my idea, and I think that's why patch 69 was received so poorly. It's not because the PvPers were bored. It's because there was nothing to do in the dungeons but PvP. There was no reason to open any chests, no reason to kill any bosses. There was no reason to do anything. It was freaking boring. The gear was useless. That's all. So maybe that helps. Anyways, moving on. Even I personally felt unsatisfied acquiring items in that state, and so everything was reverted in order to take a step back, reconsider everything from the beginning, and make a better judgment. But I thought things moved through more carefully, done more research, and taken the time to implement things properly. Players wouldn't have had to go through such a frustrating experience. It's entirely my fault. My heart aches too. I'm truly sorry. Okay. Apology accepted. Currently, if we were to remove random modifiers, I believe there still needs to be a slight better difference based on rarity, and that rarity should function as true rarity. Legendary items shouldn't feel legendary because of their power, but because of how rare they truly are. Planning to test this on the test server sometimes next week. Yeah, like with my idea, like maybe the only difference in PvP stats is basically the quality of your armor. You know what I'm saying? So like maybe an orange armor gets the +1 or +1 or like +1 stat over a purple, and purple gets +1 stat over a blue, just like how they kind of are right now, right? That seems fine. There's a lot of other balance issues with the game though. Of course, this does not mean absolute removal of random modifiers. They still have their advantages, and especially recently, we have successfully reduced a significant amount of time consumption through the socket system. I also recently hope to realize other issues caused by the large number of systems and modes we added. Perhaps I've already sensed it earlier, but I might have turned a blind eye, hoping we could still find the right spots someday. I've come to understand that with our current team size, it's simply impossible to perfectly balance all these modes or maintain so many interconnected systems without bugs. It only increases the team's burden. Because I've always pushed for fast development, we made a lot of trade-offs in the code and didn't give ourselves enough time to properly recognize the complex systems we built. As a result, we started to interact in unpredictable ways, creating massive bugs. There have been bugs caused by recovery systems, Dungeon Expressman continuous matchmaking, there's synergy, or rather negative synergy, between rarity of gear and gear score bracket systems, the Squire's quick prepare system. The Druid, designed to handle everything decently, became overpowered in the solo queue environment due to the gear score system, since it doesn't carry a weapon. It can wear relatively powerful gear and thus become an all-around powerhouse, but even so, still struggles to perform in trio queue. These are just a few examples off the top of my head, and there are countless more I could list. This is only partly true. In the uncapped gear lobbies, Druids were also running the show for reasons that were completely unrelated to cheesing the gear score system. Because I was too long trapped in the desire to solve these fundamental problems, our team members, as always, have been doing their best to point they can't work any harder, but overall, our team is also slowed down. So I'm gonna also include a little bit here. Dang it, what was I wanted to say it at the beginning of that paragraph, but now I'm like beginning to forget. What was it? Now I'm gonna go crazy. Oh well, maybe I'll remember later. At the same time, to address feedback from hardcore players who wanted items to be a bit stronger to enjoy acquiring them more, or who just like pro play, looting the corpses of others while watching their fights distracted by the high roller dungeon, we strengthened items and brought back circles and random portals in the high roller dungeon, which likely caused confusion among players on other tiers. So they said they brought the circle back to remove gear ratting? How does that make any sense? That's not even what? That doesn't even, I don't even, that's not why gear ratting happened, bro. Like, no. You can just you can just scoop someone's shit or run into a red with no resistance whatsoever. What circles encourage PvP? I don't know what circle is supposed to be anymore, man. This game has a wide variety of player types and their voices often conflict with each other. Because of this, we had to listen to player feedback with extreme caution that remains a very difficult task even now. We also wanted to create an environment where casual players could stay and enjoy the game, while at the same time hoping that hardcore players who invested thousands of hours will continue to have fun. We try to support both sides, but in the end, due to our ambition and limited resource, it feels like we weren't able to satisfy either. Yes. So now I remember what I was going to say. So, I believe that if you make Dark and Darker a fun game, like at its core, regardless of PvP, like if you make Dark and Darker PvE feel good, even in trios, which means that you're not running through all the freaking mobs, you know what I mean? Like you make the trios PvE experience feel good, feel like a dungeon crawler, this game will grow. And because the game grows, it will develop its own PvP like crowd. This is how all games work. Think about Destiny 2. Destiny 2 and 1 at their core are built for PvE, but those games have a very hardcore PvP crowd, and they like run tournaments and do all that stuff. And sometimes they know the PvP crowd feels like abandoned by the devs, but that's not really true. And like my point being, like Tarkov, right? Tarkov at its core is a PvE experience with PvP involved, right? Tarkov feels good to play even when you don't run into players, unless you have a PvP quest. PvP in Tarkov is fun, don't get me wrong, but if the game at its very core is fun, before you add other players, the game will grow, it will get new players, and people will develop their own PvP strategies. Then you can start to balance PvP and figure that out. But right now, Dark and Darker does not feel good to play outside and inside of PvP. The core game loop is not fun. Wizard PvE experience? Wizards are fine in PvE right now. What you talking about? What's wrong with Wizard PvE? Great, it's amazing. You don't find it fun? Maybe you just don't like Wizard then. That's fine. It's all right. I am totally fine with the PvE experience being balanced around a team of 3 players, so it feels harder or slower as a solo player. I'm totally fine with that. All right, let's move on. Even with our own team, there are many people with completely different playstyles. For example, I prefer to be a hardcore PvP player, though I often lose and mainly play in trios, never playing solo. In contrast, Terry, although that wasn't the case in the past, has recently come to prefer more relaxed PvP. Since he may have to quit the game at any time, he avoids team play to prevent inconveniencing others and prefers to play solo. Of course, this isn't the only way we play the game. Please don't misunderstand or overinterpret these examples. Still, wait, what? You said never playing solo. I don't get it. Why the hell can't we have both? There's lots of SDFs and Terrys out there. Yeah, like I said, we can have both. but the core game has to be fun first. We need character customization. We need skill trees. We need quivers. We need everything that makes like a dungeon crawler experience feel like a dungeon crawler. We need mobs to provide a engaging obstacle to teams. We need the game to be more than running from module to module, searching for the nearest team to run over. All right, so still we have in common is that we don't have much time to play games, but despite that, we genuinely enjoy our game, trying to invest as much time as possible in playing it. Despite having such different personalities and playstyles, we respect each other deeply while passionately trying to persuade one another. And since we're both quite persuasive, we sometimes end up implementing features in the game that we don't personally prefer. For example, when Terry was trying to find ways to keep new players in the game, I advised him that the biggest source of stress for early players might be sudden PvP encounters, and that we could even consider removing them entirely in extreme cases. When the PvE only adventure mode was being developed, I personally didn't want to include it because I was aware of the various side effects it could bring. However, I agreed that it could be a good way to onboard new players and provide the simplest way to press the play button, so it was added. So what happened? So remember when Iron Mace said they were adding a sewer map that was supposed to be the tutorial map for new players? What happened to that? Where did that go? Did we just scrap it? Like, what happened to that? Terry wanted to keep Fog of War, and we clashed several times over this as well. He eventually agreed with my points that for players who play repeatedly, brute forcing their way through the map increased fatigue, that it gave cheaters a significant advantage. The new players often couldn't find the extraction points, making the game harder and actually lowering new player retention. So it was removed. Since I'm speaking in a stream of consciousness style, seems I've strayed a bit from the main topic, but it's kind of kitchen, so let's get used to it, okay? Sorry, I'm gonna take a minute to breathe, man. I've been talking so much, I'm getting lightheaded. My friend play with me on normal without knowing the basic tutorial. That makes him pissed off. That's what I'm doing here. How do we see this channel? Can you guys help with how to see the channel? I don't know. I just already have access to it because I did something. Anyway, to sum up, the large item gap and significant time investment caused by random modifiers, combined with our intention to support various player groups, led to creating many pools across regions with different dungeons, modes, party types, and brackets. This resulted in difficulties managing the time and caused players to be too scattered depending on the region, among other side effects. Moreover, the numerous experiments and attempts to solve these problems increased the development team's workload and made it seem like we were stuck in place. Back in October 2024, I declared that I would pursue the original vision and wanted to get closer to the game I originally set out to create. However, due to my limitations and various factors, I wasn't able to get as close as I hoped. There are many ideal aspects I wish for this game, but at least regarding dungeons and combat, I hope that inside dungeons, players and parties of various sizes with different objectives can coexist more naturally. Also, I want the gear's impact on win or loss not be too overwhelming, so that players without the best items, though generally at a slight disadvantage, can still have at least some hope in combat situations. Yeah, that doesn't line up with the video we saw earlier, does it? Up until now, we tried to solve that issue by separating it into various modes. That phase of experimentation is now over. I will reduce all modes, party types, brackets, etc. to only those with clear intent, and I want to properly refine and polish these minimized targets. Harry, the design team, and I will study ways to support player groups who were previously supported by various brackets and modes, so they can perform well in a minimized bracket and mode environment. For example, in the early days of continuous matchmaking, exits open too quickly, allowing players to escape too easily, cause various issues. However, this also provides a means for relatively weaker players to farm near the exits and escape safely. While it's not entirely clear yet, I believe the various insights we gain through these experimental tests will be helpful moving forward. Additionally, I am determined to streamline the item system to be fun while limiting the side effect mentioned earlier. Among the many knobs we have, I want to at least fix the item aspect to some extent and focus more on class balance and development. I hate seeing that word, bro. I hate seeing the knobs word. I've heard that knobs word for years now. Our team is already fully committed to developing new systems and content, such as the ocean-themed dungeon named The Blue Maelstrom and the Gathering Hall. So I just need to stay focused and do my part well. By the way, the Gathering Hall is not coming this wipe. I asked Grayson and he confirmed it is not coming this wipe. Rip. I'm gonna make this smaller so you guys can see behind my head. Until now, I hadn't thought about explaining things in such detail, which caused a lot of misunderstandings and speculation. From now on, I will do my best to explain everything thoroughly through this channel. As I always say, I'm just an ordinary person who loves the game like many of you around me. But sometimes my thoughts or directions might be wrong. Because of that, I don't think I can compromise that everything will always go perfectly. You've been disappointed too many times to believe it anyway. Sweat emoji. But I can promise that no matter the situation, I will always do my best. Next time, I'll talk about something you all might be curious about. If it feels like I didn't explain today's topic well enough, I'll make sure to clear things up. Catch you later. All right, that was a lot. Now that I'm not reading this huge thing, thoughts? What do you guys think? I always think of the Slay the Spires gremlin knob. I know of the knob. What about him? Oh, you're talking about the 40k orcs? I understand. I know both, yeah. Gremlin knob sucks, bro. I hate that guy. Nice to hear from SDF. I agree. Blue Maelstrom's a cool name. Yeah, it's better than Abyss of Dungeons, that's for sure. Happy SDF explaining his thoughts more. Yeah. We might as well delete the dev Q&A channel. I think this channel's useless. They should make the maps gear-based. Then you just... I don't know about that. I had instant access to and did literally nothing. Game is cooked. Okay. Why do you think that? Let's see here. Sparky, email SDF and tell him to bring back solos. Thanks. I don't know if I can do that. I'm eating Chinese food for dinner. Yum yum. Game's not cooked, just feels dry. I feel that. This is a good step in the right direction though, guys. No for fun, low roller solos make me sad. Getting gear checked in HR solo is gonna suck. Get spaghetti? Hell yeah, dude. I fucking love spaghetti. I love spaghetti! I love it! Thanks for listening. Sorry.